Habits and projections within appointment setting. Now, first of all, we're going to go over the all-star habits that you need within appointment setting. Then we're going to go over like daily workflows, what your day should be looking like within the appointment setting, reasons why you're not booking sales calls. So, first of all, the all-star habits. Let me just, in case anybody's on an iPhone or whatnot. So, top messengers, appointment setters are always ready to respond and maximize time, effort for setting the appointment. So, what this means, habit number one you need is alertness, attentiveness, being there. If you reply to your prospect within the first 1 minute, 60 seconds of them replying to you, you have a 380% chance, higher chance, that the prospect will close compared to if you leave it 4 minutes longer. So from replying within the first minute to 5 minutes later, you go from a 380% chance of them closing down to an 80% chance of them closing. Phenomenal maths, I know. That is straight from the GOAT himself, Alex Hormozy. But that's why habit number one is attentiveness and response rate. It needs to be up there. The number one habit that you need is response rate. Being active, being attentive, always replying quickly. Secondly, when you're in a flow with a conversation, keep it flowing and get them booked in. Sometimes you'll have to stop what you're doing and focus 100% on the conversation until it's booked. So if you have a prospect who's in good communications with you, do not lose that lead. If they're warm, get them booked in. If they're warm and somebody else is messaging you, ignore the other message, carry on that conversation. If you're in a fast, warm conversation with a prospect, then don't stop the conversation until they're booked in, right? That is super, super crucial because the warmer the prospect, the more likely they're going to book in, the more likely they'll close. So, habit number two is making sure your conversation, your efforts within the conversation are given to the warmest prospects. Number two, the biggest mistake is having the convo finally get flowing rather than getting busy with your life and not responding later on. So it kind of flows back into number two, but you need to prioritize the set, right? Get the conversation flowing and then stay in the conversation. Prioritize the set, the appointment, and don't wait until later on because remember the percentage difference, right? We're going to lose the lead. So make sure when they're warm, when they're in conversation, keep it going. Top setters are great at maximizing time for setting, right? It's easy to get stuck into multiple boxes, right? Inboxes, sorry. 20 different tabs. Maybe you're on different social platforms. You're on Instagram, then you go to Telegram, then you go to Twitter, then you go onto School, and then you go back onto Instagram, then you go onto Facebook Messenger, then you go onto X. You're feeling busy, but you're not being productive. I would say stick to maximum of two platforms. Do one platform in the morning, one platform in the evening. If you have messages that you need to reply on, go back to that platform, but don't spread yourself too thin, right? You don't want to be getting sucked into multiple inboxes. Keep it simple, stay productive. I would personally prioritize Instagram as the best, most optimized platform, or Meta, should we say. So Facebook or Instagram as your number one platform, and then have a backup, an alternative. Maybe this is Telegram, maybe this is WhatsApp if you've got a big pipeline on WhatsApp. Maybe it's School if there's a big community you can hit up. Whatever it is, have two platforms that you stick to, Meta being the first one, Facebook or Instagram, and then a backup. Now, we want a schedule that allows us to block out 1 hour at the beginning of the day. This is called the power hour, and I'll get onto this a little bit more in the future, later on in this session. And then 1 hour at the end of the day. Now, what happens between those 2 hours is nowhere near as important as the work isn't focused compared to the first hour of the day and the last hour of the day. So when you're doing your daily schedules, if you're not doing a daily schedule, that is a must. Make sure the first hour of the day that you wake up, once you've done your morning routine, which I would spend no more than half an hour. So let's say we wake up at 8 a.m. By 8:30 a.m., you have your first power hour. So 8:30 till 9:30 a.m. is your first power hour. And then the last hour of your day before you go to sleep, or you should be having a wind down schedule. So let's say you Start your wind down schedule at 10 and you're asleep by 10:30 p.m. From 9 till 10 p.m., this is your final power hour session. Now, these are the two highest leverage hours within your day to do high focus work. So make sure that you're keeping these clear and clean for high focus work. And then time blocking. So time blocking is more than recommended. It's a must, it's a necessity. The magic 30-minute time block at the beginning of the day and the end of the day is crucial. So it's a power hour, 90-minute block. You wouldn't want to do any more than 90 minutes, but I like to call it a power hour. It just sounds better. But psychologists say there's a 90-minute deep work session, but I prefer an hour. An hour deep work, you can get loads and loads done. Let's stick to our power hour. Now, our daily workflow. So, starting the day, this is your power hour, yeah? Power hour number one. So, the power hour is designed to follow up with the hottest leads that you have in your pipeline and engage with new leads that are coming through to get your calls responded. So, let's say we're doing Instagram DM setting, your first power hour, you should be messaging and replying and following up with every single lead who is very, very warm. Now, this could be, you might differentiate between warm and not so warm and hot and cold prospects with your sales tracker. Maybe you mark everybody on Instagram as like flag, all the really, really warm people. Maybe you mark them as dispatch, you put a label on them. But the first hour is designed for you to follow up with the hottest and warmest prospects. That could be outreach or follow up. So if we've got a nice warm prospect who are about to outreach to, this could be somebody who's recently followed you, liked all the content on the page, and is messaging you saying, "Hey, I want to learn more." Even though they're not in conversation with you yet, that is still a very, very warm prospect. So we will prioritize people like this, as well as hot, warm conversations that have been had a couple days before. Your power hour is where you're going to smash through all of these and get them responding. As well, the reason why we want to do this in the power hour, one is when you're going to be in the highest deep work flow state, and two, it's going to be early in the morning. You're waking up, you're giving your first hour of the day to these prospects, which shows that, or it means they're going to feel privileged. It shows that they are a priority and they're going to feel more inclined to go through your sales process, through your sales funnel, because they're a lot warmer and they've been messaged first thing in the morning instead of like 4 p.m. in the afternoon. If somebody's following up with me personally at 4 p.m. in the afternoon, I know that that sales position, that setter, doesn't see me as a priority. If I wake up and I've got a message at 8 a.m., I know that the setter who's trying to get me to book a sales call sees me as a priority because I'm one of the first people that they message. So you want to reverse engineer that and do this yourself and message the hottest, warmest, highest priority prospects first thing in the morning. Excuse me. Perfect. So the second one in your daily workflow, the secret is to get conversation flowing. Where you respond, they respond, you respond, they respond. So our power hour is finished. We're now into our conversational flow state of the day. And when you're in conversation with someone, make sure you stay in conversation with someone. It sounds quite simple and very basic, common sense, but a lot of people will be in conversation with someone and then stop to go follow up or stop and reply to somebody else. If me and Tebe here are in a conversation and I'm setting Tebe and then Jake messages me, there is no way in hell that I'm going to stop speaking to Tebe and go and message Jake because that's low leverage. It doesn't make sense. I'm going to take Tebe through the whole sales process, get him to book in, and then I'm going to message Jake afterwards. Turning off all distractions is a must. No admin, writing down different bits, no emails, no random social medias. You need to block yourself out and do the task at hand. Yet again, this sounds very simple and common sense, but it's crazy the amount of people I know who will appointment set and then they'll watch YouTube for 5 minutes. Then they'll do a bit more appointment set and then they'll start scrolling. And then they'll do go back to appointment setting and then they'll start scrolling again. Get rid of all distractions. It means that your work's going to be a higher quality. You're going to be doing it in a shorter period of time. So if you want to scroll, if you want to go on YouTube, if you want to play chess, if you want to go out with your friends, you can do that after you've done your work. So instead of doing half an hour of work, scroll, half an hour of work, scroll, half an hour of work, scroll, just do 90 minutes of work, then all your work's done. It might have taken you 70 minutes because you've done it in one big chunk at a higher quality and a higher concentration. And then you can scroll all you like. It's completely up to you if you want to scroll. If you don't, that's cool. But don't do 5 minutes, scroll, 10 minutes, make lunch, come back, do another 5 minutes. Get rid of your distractions, just do your work and then enjoy it afterwards. So during your power hour, you want to focus on four groups of people. So outreach, your new messenger conversations. Number two, following up with people whose conversations have stalled. So re-engaging that conversation. Going through the pipeline and reactivating old conversations, so leads who you've spoke to in the past, but maybe the conversation has died out. And then new story voters, repliers, etc., etc. So where it says new story voters and replies, this can also be like people who may have engaged in a post, or they might have just dropped a follow or something like that, right? And then here, I know I've put it afterwards, but it's kind of the same thing. And then if you have time, go to new followers and then content engagers. So this first hour is pure focus, and I can't reiterate that enough because you just woke up, your brain is really active, you're got all this energy. It has to be pure focus. And you're more likely to get more done in this 1 hour than the rest of the day combined. So it's really crucial that the minute you wake up, you brush your teeth, you drink a glass of water, you sit down to do work, and bang, that is it. You focus and do your work. So, on the flip side, at the end of the day, so during the end of the day, your power hour number two, you again want to focus on the same four groups of people from the morning. So, everybody in the morning who you sent a new message to, everybody who you followed up with in the morning, all your story replies and your old conversations, you want to keep that conversation going. If they haven't even opened a message from the morning, then you don't need to follow up. You shouldn't be messaging and following up in the same day. But if they've sent one message back or any kind of conversation has occurred from your original four groups of follow up, story reply, outreach, and old pipeline conversations, keep that conversation going. Keep that conversation going. And then, of course, you also want to complete your daily KPIs, right? So adding names into your sales tracker, doing your CRM, doing your maybe you're on Instagram and you're tagging people as like a lead, dispatch, whatever it is. This is what you want to do on your last hour. And the reason for this is so when you wake up in the morning and you have your power hour one again, you can open up your sales tracker, open up your CRM, open up your Instagram DM, filter for lead on Instagram, and just message every single one. The follow-up's so easy. Filter for dispatch, follow-up so easy. Go through name number one on my CRM, Sarah. Type Sarah in, message. Right, who's number two? James. Type in James. Done. The more organized you are in your last hour, your power hour of work in the day, the more organized you are in that last hour, the easier the first hour becomes. And you can imagine the compounding effect after you've done this for, say, 2 weeks. You've done 28 power hours, 14 in the morning, 14 in the evening. After 2 weeks, how easy your outreach, follow up, etc., is going to become simply because of these 2 power hours. So yet again, schedule 60 to 90 minutes a day once you've done all your follow-up with your prospects to then nurture the relationships and then book in the steps. So what this means is during your power hour, you should be follow up with James, then you follow up with Sarah, then you follow up with Anthony, then you follow up with Tebe, then you follow up with Jake, then you follow up with Sam, then you follow up with absolutely everyone. And once you've done your power hour of volume, you then nurture the conversations and book them in. Instead of just spending your power hour having two conversations, engage or re-engage 100, 200 conversations in that power hour, and then spend the next 60 to 90 minutes or do a 60-minute session, have lunch, walk the dogs, go get some fresh air, come back to another 60 to 90-minute session of nurturing the relationships and booking in sales calls. Now, I put a little tool in here for you. So you can use keyboard shortcuts in your phones if you say the same thing quite a lot as well on Instagram, on X, and in Facebook Messenger. You can have save replies. So if you're doing outreach and you're messaging every single person who has followed, maybe it's your account, maybe it's an outreach account, maybe it's an agency account, maybe it's your offer owner's account, right? Maybe you're on, let's say you're on my account, right? And you go through and you want to outreach to every single person who followed you. Instead of saying, hey, name, appreciate the follow. I'm curious as to why you dropped it. Hey, name, thanks for the follow. Is there any reason why you followed me? You can have your saved replies in on the platform, have it as hey name, da 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 da, and you can just press save reply where it says name, remove it, type in a name, and it's done. It sounds simple. It sounds like it might not save you a lot of time, but when you're doing like 100 to 200 outreaches a day, it's going to save you like an hour at least. It's really, really overpowered. So make sure you're using shortcuts and phones. Now, moving on to the flip side, right? So we've just talked about good habits, daily workflows, how we're going to book sales calls. Reverse engineering it, this is the reasons why you're not booking sales calls, right? So, your profile funnel. You need to have authority and be optimized for your ideal client. This means that all the trust you build before saying a single word is non-existent. And what I mean by this is if I am doing a load of lead sourcing and I'm following leads and I'm putting some likes on their account, my Instagram account would build a lot more trust than if Jake was to do it. Because within A-Tracks, I am the face of the brand, and Jake does more of the management and the back end of it because that's more his skill set. So if Jake was to go and follow a load of people and then like all of their stuff, everyone would be like, wait, what? What? If Jake went and followed a load of appointment setters and liked all of their posts, the appointment setters that Jake had followed would be like, well, who the hell is this? Whereas if I went on there and my nicely optimized profile went on and followed a load of appointment setters and liked all of their photos, they'd probably message me being like, hey bro, see you're in sales, see you run an appointment setting agency. Do you have a job for me? Can you give me some stores? Yada yada yada. My profile builds trust and encourages conversations without me lifting a finger. And that's what you need to do with your profile. Maybe you're working in a e-com brand, right? And you're working on an e-com offer. Build your profile around the e-com offer. Maybe you build it around the offer owner and you have a similar profile to them, or you just build it in that space, in that niche. Maybe it's OFM, maybe it's drop shipping, maybe it's whatever coach or consultant you're working for. Just make sure your account, whether that's on X, School, Facebook, Telegram, whatever it may be, whatever platform you're using, you need to be seen as an authority and have an optimized account. This means having a good profile picture, a strong bio. If you can post on the accounts, obviously on Telegram, you can't post on your Telegram account. But if you can post, having nice, strong social proof, maybe some testimonials. If you haven't got any testimonials, get some made by a UGC creator for like $30. Build that brand, that face, that image, and you'll be surprised at how much easier the conversations become just because you look like somebody who knows what they're talking about. Going back to the Jake and me comparison, if we were talking about appointment setting, Jake would give me a run for my money. 5 times out of 10, he'd do better than me. 5 times out of 10, I'd do better than him. But the prospect wouldn't know this from looking at our pages, right? They'd think automatically that I would know more because I have content on there. I have an optimized bio. I've got lots more sales related stuff on my Instagram compared to Jake, which means that when that conversation does occur, I'm going to have a lot more authority and trust built already compared to Jake, which in short term means Jake's going to have to work a lot harder in the DM, put a lot more effort in, build a lot more trust and rapport. Instead of me, I'm just going to get straight to the sale. I'm just going to get straight to the point. So, optimization of your account, whichever platform you're on, and the authority that it builds is super, super crucial. Jake, I didn't mean to violate you there at all, bro. If that came across rude in any way, it was all for an example.
Not
No,
at all, bro. Oh, nah. I was agreeing with everything you were saying. I was like, yeah, yeah, like that's just how it works. I mean, we all know that's how it works in sales. When there's that framing, right? And when you frame your account in a way which is optimizing your profile for a specific kind of brand or a specific kind of persona, that just automatically frames you as an authority within that space, whether it's digital arbitrage or marketing or sales or whatever it may be. That's the whole point. So yeah, totally agree with everything you said there.
Sweet, all good, all good, all gravy. So number two is going to be a poor opener. Now, this is arguably more important than number one because no matter how optimized your profile is, no matter how good you are at conversing with DMs, no matter how good you are at extrapolating and amplifying pain, no matter how good you are at going through a sales process, sending booking links, booking calls, if you can't get a reply from your outreach because you've got a poor opener, you're going to make no money. You're going to have no sales. The opening first message is the most important part of sales, of appointment setting, of DM setting. Because if you can't get a reply, well, it doesn't matter how good you are at amplifying pain because you can't even have a conversation. So your openers must be phenomenal, sensational. Then they can't even be good or great. They have to be sensational, absolutely phenomenal. They have to be the best of the best. Otherwise, you're not even going to have any conversations. And this is organic as well as if you're using many chats for automations being sent out. You must have 10, 10, 15 out of 10 even openers. And if you don't have these, then there's no point even trying to set the conversation because you're not going to get any replies. Number three, not building enough rapport. So this goes back to number one about trust. You need to build rapport. It's all well and good telling the prospect that they're shit, their business is about to fail, they're on the brink of bankruptcy and they must buy your product to save them. If everything you say is true, if they are on the brink of bankruptcy, if their business is failing and your product will save them, but you haven't built any trust, there is no way in hell that they are going to buy from you. Never, ever, ever. So you need to build that trust. Make sure you're getting on the same wave as them, but still holding that authority. You want to be relatable. You want to seem and be, not just seem, but an authority in the space. Know what you're talking about. The product knowledge needs to be very, very good. You need to, like I said, be relatable. You need to understand the prospect. The prospect needs to understand that you understand their pain and problem. So in short terms, if Jake was trying to sell me, I would want to know and feel like Jake understands my pain. That is all going to build rapport and build trust, which if you don't do that, then there's no point even being there. Number four, asking too big of a question up front. So, Tebe, right now, I've got a prime example for you, and I'm not saying you do this at all. This is just an if-when fallacy to help you out. So, Tebe currently works on an OnlyFans management offer, right? And when Tebe's talking to his prospects, if Tebe asked an upfront big question like, "Hey, bro, how much money is your agency making to financially qualify them for the product?" That's too big of a question to ask at all. How much money are you making? But what Tebe can do is ask smart questions. So, hey, bro, how many models are you managing? Okay, I'm currently managing 4 models. Okay, cool. And approximately what percent of these models are they're all top 5%? Well, 4 models, all in the top 5%. If you know your product knowledge about OnlyFans management and OnlyFans, you can work out that the agency is making between approximately 17 to 25K a month. So instead of just being like, yo, bro, how much money do you make? And just the prospect putting their guard up straight away, you can ask smart questions to get around the big questions, but you just need to know your product knowledge. So going back to number four, asking too big of a questions up front is going to be the biggest turn off for the prospect. They're not going to want to talk about figures straight away. They're not going to want to talk about the ins and outs of their business straight away because you need to build trust, you need to build rapport before you can then move on to asking these big questions. Number five, sorry, this sparkling water is really getting to me. It's quite sparkling. Ah, being too assertive. So if we look at a scale here, right, we've got no control, all of the control, no assertiveness, being too assertive. We want to be at about 80%. We want to hold the authority. We want to be assertive and show that we are a dominant presence within our niche, our industry, but we don't want to be right at the end saying, Jake, you're absolutely rubbish at appointment setting. You're never going to succeed in this because you are awful. You don't know anything. You need to go and learn 7 years of sales experience because you are rubbish and you don't know what you're doing. That is far, far, far too assertive and quite frankly, rude. However, taking the frame of, well, Jake, I do see that you're trying to become an appointment setter, and it seems to me like you do have the initiative, you do have the work ethic, you just might not have the skills yet. I've basically said to Jake that he's got no sales skills, but I've given him a backhanded compliment and saying, but I can see that you work hard and you're determined. I'm still being very assertive and saying, well, like, I know a lot about sales and you don't know anything, but I'm saying it in a very nice way that connotes to me still being the authority and Jake not being the authority, but it's not too assertive, it's not rude, it's not aggressive. So finding a nice balance of being assertive and holding all the authority, but still being able to give out a few backhanded compliments. And I'm not saying like, oh, Jake, you have beautiful eyes. That's weird. I'm not talking about flirtatious compliments. I'm talking about business and work ethic related compliments. You can find a nice middle ground of being assertive, hold your authority and power, but still be able to flow power and have a nice conversation with these prospects. So make sure you're not direct in the sense of you're really assertive and you want to hold all the power and all the authority and be the boss, because as much as you might think that's going to benefit you, it really, really won't. Now, number six, which I have done in this presentation. Talking too much, waffling, right? Big, big, big paragraphs. And on the flip side, one word replies. If I was going through a sales funnel, and I often purposely slide through sales funnels because I love to know what the competition is doing, and I get a one word reply from a setter, I'd send them a voice note saying that is absolutely disrespectful. There is no way that you are working for a sales agency, you're selling a service for somebody else, and you're sending a one word reply. That's atrocious. You can't be doing that. It shows that you don't care, you don't have any authority, you don't really know what you're talking about, probably. You've got no product knowledge, and you certainly haven't got any personal, intellectual, people skills in holding a conversation. On the flip side, talking too much, being too conversational will either lower your authority, so it will bring you down to the prospects level, or it will make you seem like you just want to be there for friends. And realistically, you're there for work, business, and sales. So we can't be too conversational. Yet again, it's finding a nice, happy medium, a nice balance between saying enough, not saying too much, but saying everything that needs to be said. And this certainly is not sending paragraphs. Excuse me. Do apologize. We cannot be sending paragraphs. And like I said, again, for the fourth time on the flip side, I love that. One word replies are a simple no-go. You simply just can't be doing them. Do not send one word replies at all. I'm actually guilty of this. Ha ha ha. Well, good job you're here to learn, Tebe, my friend. That's why we do it to help you guys out. Number seven, freestyling your own script with here, this is the important bit, no foundations, right? So, yes, you can freestyle a script, know a script, know the dangle the carrot, know the four-step conversational workflow, freestyle it around the basis and the foundations of the dangle the carrot or four-step conversational workflow. That is great. That's immense. When you follow a sales script word for word, it often sounds robotic, not like it's you. There's no empathy in it, and it doesn't really work. So freestyling a sales script whilst keeping the foundations is a must. But if you're just going to completely remove the foundations, it's not going to work. This, an example of this, let's talk about the dangle to carrot or the four-step conversational workflow. It's my favorite workflow. It just works immensely well. If I was to come in and talk about inefficiencies before I built any context and familiarity, and then I offered to send a booking link, and then I tried to pull out inefficiencies in the conversation. There's no foundations. It doesn't work. I'm not following any workflow. And yet again, these are the things that are going to make us not book sales calls. It simply won't work. So make sure we're following the foundations. I would highly recommend the dangle, the carrot play is maybe not more advanced, but it's more limited in the sense that there's less fluff. It's more just bullet point, bullet point, bullet point. So if you're still working on learning a nice conversational flow with strong foundations, the four-step conversational workflow, having those foundations ingrained in your blood, in your brain, in your bone marrow, in your core, in your soul, and then making your own scripts around them, like I have done with the dangle the carrot, is going to be the best way to book those sales calls. And yet again, on the flip side, if you don't use those foundations and you just go for it, you're going to fail. So make sure you're using your foundations, you're using your foundational sales skills, the foundations of the scripts, and then adapting them to your own needs, to what you want to be saying. Maybe you don't like some terminology that's used in a sales script. Maybe you don't like the lingo or the dialect. You can change it to your own words, but make sure you're using the foundations. Number eight, selling in the DMs. Now, this is a bit of a weird one because when we're talking low ticket offers, so when we're talking about like selling the school community, selling in the DMs is it's not fine, it's good. It's what we should be doing. But this here is more about actually appointment setting for high ticket offers. We're talking like five, seven, 10, 15, $20,000. And you can't be trying to take payment and sell in the DMs. You want to be just amplifying, extrapolating that pain, giving them some small solutions, booking them in for a sales call. The sales call is where the transaction is made of value of service delivery and courses and mentorships and one-to-one calls for the value exchange of money. If you try and sell in the DM, and I know Tebe is probably thinking about somebody who he works with who has done a couple DM closes on a high ticket offer. It's a very, very, very rare instant that you can sell in the DM. And secondly, more often than not, you're just going to push the prospect away. So if you're able to sell a high ticket product in the DMs, you're very, very lucky at how open-minded your prospects are. Because normally, every single prospect on a high ticket offer needs to go through a complete sales funnel, a breakdown of what the program is, visual representations of people who have gone through it already through like testimonials, what's in the program, how it's going to benefit them, the bonuses they're going to receive, etc., etc. And that's going to take quite a long time to break down. They need to hear the whole offer. And most often than not, you're not going to be able to do this in the DM purely because of the time it's going to take you to break it down. Mindfulness of the prospect. Nobody likes to be sold to, especially over a message in the DM. It's not going to work. Yes, Jake, what's good, bro?
Yo, I just wanted to add on to this. So, selling in the DM is extremely easy to fall into. It's an extremely easy thing to, especially in the beginning when you're setting, you don't even realize that you start to sell the program, the offer, or the service to the person when you should just be selling the call, right? As Sam earlier, you should be selling the closing call because it is absolutely not your job to sell the program. And honestly, it could ruin, like, you could have a prospect who is actually very interested and would have closed on the call had they had the correct face-to-face conversation with the closer, had they had, maybe the closer will know certain things that you probably won't, right? Because that's their job. Their job is going to be different than yours. They'll probably have some different kind of information, and obviously different kind of training. So in that aspect, sometimes it can be very easy to start selling the program, especially when the prospect is asking you questions like, "How much is it? What happens when I do this? Like, if I when I join, what's the first thing that I'm going to do? I just like to know this kind of stuff before joining, and whatever it may be." It can be very easy to fall into that. So definitely just always be aware of, right, once again, you want to keep authority. You don't want the person just spamming you with questions. You want to be the one asking questions and them answering. But just be aware of that. Have that always in the back of your head to know, like, okay, I'm selling the call. I'm selling basically the appointment here. I am not selling the program, the service, or the product. I'm just selling a potential result, right? You always want to be like, oh, we might not even be able to actually help you. First, we have to get on this call and see if we can even help you within your situation. I personally believe that we can, but I don't know yet, right? Something like that. So, yeah, I just wanted to add that in real quick.
Sensational. And what Jake said there is about a pullback. A pullback is super, super powerful, and I haven't actually mentioned it in this doc, but going through the whole funnel, going through the whole system, and then being like, so, Tebe, if I'm being completely honest with you, this has helped every single person that's gone through with this. However, you're not every single person that's gone through with it. So I don't know if this is actually going to be a good fit for you, which is why I want you to go on to this strategy session, discovery session, sales call, which is why I want you to go into this meeting to see if you're going to be a good fit for the product. Tebby's going to be like, nah, 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 I am a good fit. I am a good fit. And I'm going to join this meeting to prove to people that I am a good fit because that's how psychology works. That's gonna be how an ego works. Everybody has ego, whether they like it or not, they can admit it or not. Everybody has an ego, whether it's this big or this big, right? Everybody has a little bit of ego. And when you start stroking somebody's ego and then pulling back, they want to prove to you and themselves that they are right. So pullbacks are super, super, super powerful. Number nine, taking too long to reply in the DMs. We covered this in Power Hour 1. Simply if you're in a conversation with someone, keep in conversation with them. You should be appointment setting every single day, even on a Sunday. Do it for half an hour. Just send one message to all your prospects for an hour. Done. Your Sunday's then done. Do it first thing in the morning. You can enjoy the rest of the day off. Don't take too long to reply because you'll lose a prospect. They'll become cold, not interested. Just make sure you keep following up properly. Taking a nice amount of time to reply nice and quickly. Now, for follow up. So this is something me and Jake were talking about earlier, right? The fortune is in the follow up. I love that saying. It's absolutely beautiful because set and close all of my deals from follow up. I have never, ever once in my life, in my 18 months of sales career, outreach to somebody and appointment set them in the same day. Never once have I done that because the fortune is in the follow up. Every single time I have booked a sales call or one of my deals has been closed, it's because I have followed up with the prospect first. Now, you guys may be different. Maybe you're more skilled than me in sales and you've booked someone in for a sales call and they've closed within the first touch point. It's a very, very rare occasion. The fortune is in the follow-up. It really is. Especially when if we're doing 100 outreaches a day, a hygiene standard, and then 60 follow-ups, you're never actually going to be able to follow up with everybody who you outreach to because the outreach is less than the follow-up. No, sorry, the follow-up is less than the outreach. If we're doing 120 follow-ups a day and 60 outreaches, well, on day one, you can't do any outreach. But day two, you've got 60 people to follow up with. By day five, you've got so many more people. What's the maths on that? Like 120 times five, what? 600. You've got 600 prospects to follow up with, and you're only outreaching to 60 new people a day. So the fortune is in the follow-up. You have to follow up. If you're not following up, you're literally leaving so much bread, so much food, so much wine. You're leaving it all on the table. The fortune is in the follow-up. I don't want to go too deep into the rabbit hole right now because I could talk about follow-up for literal hours. But please, please, please just prioritize follow-up over outreach, right? You heard it here first. It's the most important. And then finally, failing to nurture. So what this means, failing to nurture, is not being able to take the prospect through the whole sales cycle. You need to nurture the lead the whole way through the cycle. This means continuously building rapport. Even if you've been speaking to a prospect for 5 days, on the sixth day, you still want to be building rapport, getting to know the prospect better, asking them more questions about their business, having them ask you questions about what you do with your business. The nurturing aspect of the sales cycle is where the trust is built. Now, when people say about building context and familiarity, talking about things on their Instagram page, asking them questions about the agency they're running, this is all nurturing, but people just don't realize it. So you need to nurture, 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 nurture. Tebe's friend who did three pay in fulls in the DM close for 9.8K told me and Tebe that he had nurtured these leads since September. He'd been speaking to these leads since September and he'd nurtured them for 3 months and then he managed to get them all closed in December in the DM. Miraculously, I've got no idea how he did it. He's a very skilled individual, but he did it. But he said that he was nurturing these people since September. Now, if that doesn't prove to you that follow up, of course, he's going to have to follow up because there's no way he kept the conversation going for 3 months straight. Fortune's in the follow up, as well as the importance of nurturing the prospect through the process, then I simply don't know what does show that. But that is all for the masterclass section. If anybody has any questions, please, please, please ask away.